It is 7 o'clock, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. This is Courageous Conversations, COVID-19 Vaccine, You Decide. This is a 5-part talk show series for Black and African American communities to receive culturally appropriate and accessible information about COVID-19 and the vaccines. Today and every day on the series, we're going to be every Tuesday at 7 o'clock for the next 5 weeks, live here via Zoom and on Facebook. And you can register and get the Zoom link on our Eventbrite page. And so we're going to have trusted members, leaders, and allies of the Black community share their perspectives and knowledge to empower those to make the decision they feel is best for themselves and their loved ones when it comes to the vaccine. My name is Lyte, and I will be your host / moderator. I am a spoken word poet and just somebody a part of the community. And so I run an organization called Power to the Poetry, which is a performing arts LLC that specializes in spoken word poetry. We promote freedom of expression and provide a platform for underrepresented demographics in our community, including but not limited to people of color, LGBTQ+, women, youth, people with different abilities, people with mental health issues, etc., raising awareness to social, cultural, political, and personal issues, addressing topics which cultivate crucial and courageous conversations, empowering our audience to engage in dialogue and action for meaningful change. We are Warriors of Light on a mission to express, expose, and ignite. And that's what we really intend to happen tonight. We want to express what's happening, expose the things that's happening, get these perspectives and these questions answered, and hopefully, you, our audience, will be ignited and feel inspired to do what you feel is right for you and your family when it comes to this COVID-19 vaccine. So today we have a wonderful conversation. We have some amazing doctors who are in the field, who've been in the field for a while, retired, they're doing the work. And so our first doctor we have is Dr. Jarris, and she's the co-founder and CEO of Discovery Health MD, which is a medical services company for the commercial maritime industry. They've been at the forefront of the pandemic response, supporting the Pacific Northwest and Alaska seafood industry, cargo, petroleum, and towing industries. They provided COVID-19 testing for tens of thousands of mariners, employees, and travelers. In partnership with the Washington and Alaska Departments of Health, they are running vaccination clinics in Washington and Alaska for the public and critical infrastructure workers. And they are currently vaccinating crews of foreign flag vessels at anchor here in the Puget Sound. And so we're gonna drop a link in the chat where you can learn more about Dr. Jarris and Discovery Health MD. Next, we have Dr. Shaquita Bell, and she is a pediatrician and interim medical director at the Community Health Center, Odessa Brown Children's Clinic. She is a site coordinator for pediatrics residents. Dr. Bell is a clinical associate professor at Seattle's Children's and the University of Washington in the Division of General Pediatrics. And additionally, she's the medical director of the Center for Diversity and Health Equity at Seattle Children's Hospital. And we'll drop a link to learn more about Dr. Bell as well. And then lastly, we have Dr. Rayburn Lewis, who's a physician and executive who's led healthcare organizations with strategic vision to boost caregiver loyalty, patient experience, and high quality outcomes. He has over 3 decades of medical experience and a lifetime of community engagement as a leader and a volunteer, and has served on boards of Providence Senior and Community Services and the Washington State Medical Association. In recent years, Dr. Lewis has helmed International Community Health Services as the Chief Medical officer and ran Swedish Medical Center as their chief executive. And lastly, but not least, we have our musical guest here today with us, Brandon Marsalis. And he is a 24-year-old rapper and songwriter hailing from Tacoma, Washington. Finely crafted lyrics and heartwarming instrumentation are his weapons of choice, which he wields masterfully on his 2019 album, Ouroboros. He has graced Seattle stages such as Chop Suey, the Crocodile, the Paramount Theater, spreading his message to the masses. And his music is available on every major platform under the name Brandon Marsalis. And so before we get started, I just want to address some guidelines and rules. By being here, you are agreeing to be kind to our speakers, musical guests, and each other. Please keep your mics muted. And if you have any questions or comments, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat. And there's a little chat button at the bottom of your screen that you should be able to see, or on the side. And then also the best way to view tonight's series and show is in the speaker mode. So if you want to click the right top corner, if you're not already in the speaker mode, it says view and there's a little drop down button and you can go ahead and click on the speaker. Also make sure to use your reactions at the bottom of the screen to send lots of love. You can do thumbs up, hand claps. I think you can drop a heart. I'm not sure, but super excited to have you all here tonight and really excited for today's event. Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge that we are on native land. And also, I would like to give a brief moment of silence to those who have lost their lives due to COVID-19. Thank you so much. And so without further ado, we are gonna get it kicked off with some music from the wonderful artist, Brandon Marsalis. You can take it away. Go ahead and unmute yourself. You're on mute. So there we go.
How you guys doing? What's up? What's up? You know, my name is Brandon Marsalis from Tacoma, Washington. Right now, we're in a parallel universe because I have glasses on and I can't see you, and you guys can see me. So I think it's absolutely insane right now. So what we're gonna do is 2 songs for you. The first one is called Invader, and the second one is called Veni Vidi Vici, one of my favorite songs. We're gonna get it started. Yeah, there's a lot of doctors up in here, man. I want all the doctors up in the chat start bumping their heads, man. If y'all feel this right here, man. Come on now, y'all should have got that vaccine a while ago, dog. Come on now, man. Hey, look, watch out for the damages, the body snatcher wranglers, the Fords and the big Jeeps, the alt-right rammerers, beware the spy-9 cameras floating in the ozone. They can see an ant up in Canada, move with the swiftness of a mailed anthrax canister. Speak till they hang you from the banister, flood the whole world and want us to be the janitors. The kingdom's messed up and we yelling at the senators. But when the sky turns black and the clock strikes 0, humanity's finally gonna realize that they killed their last hero. Death, an endless cycle that goes on and on. But why the good ones always die so young? Seemingly for fun, orchestrated by the disciples of God's fallen son. My homie Mary won. If I was Jesus Christ on the cross, I would say, dog, we had enough. We gonna spin the block. But no, he died for your sins, and we repay him by turning the whole earth into a cinder block. Turn back the clock. But that's why you dialed on. The apocalypse will be televised live via Viacom. Fire alarms and fire bombs, and illegal firearms, uncontrollable windstorms, unconsolable mothers crying in the arms of another brother slain over crayon color. Turn back the clock. to another. Lion doesn't care what the ant achieves. The next great pyramid's gonna be a Ponzi scheme set up by the pompous few. If you don't trust the fox, why do you trust it to give you news? Bringing the blues, bringing the blues. And if you're now tuning in to 101.1, it's the end. Come on, man. Wait. I don't even need nobody to unmute, man. I already know y'all turned it up, man. There's a lot of doctors up in here, man. There's a lot of people in the chat up in here, man. You listen, man, I'm so happy to be here. Once again, we're in a parallel universe right now where things are a little bit backwards because the phone backwards and I'm sitting here and I got glasses on and I can't even see y'all, but y'all can see me. There's something going on right here. I'm connected to y'all right now, man. Shout out to the doctors, man, in here. Shout out to the people, man, on the front line, man, risking their lives, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. I love y'all, man. This second song is Veni Vidi Vici. I came, I saw, and I conquered. Man. Our people, man, we going through too much, dog. Way too much. I sit back and think as a young Black man sometimes, man. When does it start? Sometimes I think about where it's going. I think about times like this, times we've been through already as people. I realize that some things aren't supposed to end. Maybe. But I feel like we're getting stronger through that, man. Always. Always. Now, if you're feeling this one, man, this is from my heart right here. Y'all feeling this one, bop your head, y'all. Bop your head, y'all. Yeah, check 1, 2. Yeah, check 1, 2. Yeah, and it's the word. If you didn't know, I'm from Tacoma, the best city on earth, man. Hold up, look, I said a poor man needs. The rich man watches as the poor man bleeds. The blind man sees. The rich man watches as the blind man believes. The lost man screams. The rich man watches as the lost man grieves. The sweet girl sings. The rich man watches as the sweet girl screams and they burn it all down. Manifest destiny coming, you hear the sound, land sanctified, blood mixes with ground, never satisfied, insatiable soul desires, appetite of ruler, but got the soul of a coward, a step without care, crushes the most flowers, man wants to seek heaven, so he builds a tower, close to the gates, where he be there in an hour, then it all falls down. Manifest destiny coming, you hear the sound. Only one question to ask is, won't spin around? You tell me to try, I tell you what's found. You tell me survive, I ask you how. You tell me you want it, I need it now. You tell me what's yours and what's allowed. They tell you explore, but give you bounds. Manifest destiny here, no, I can pick it right out the crowd. A poor man needs. The rich man watches as the poor man bleeds. The blind man sees. The rich man watches as the blind man believes. The lost man screams. The rich man watches as the lost man grieves. The sweet girl sings. The rich man watches as the sweet girl dreams. And the king wants to be God, a man flawed. With killers on people before they find him a fraud. Nobody equal, divide and conquer all. Another foolish man to flip the switch and kill all. Another foolish man to build a god and then fall. Then another foolish man will get caught in the middle. But my soul still free in the meadow. Still not yet bound by the shackles of ghetto. Still not yet swooned by the half full moon. Still holding out hope that the sun comes soon. Those flowers that were trampling in war are now in bloom. I know you couldn't see it before, but they in the room. Used our free will to stand on our own too. Some broken and bruised. Some got something to say and some got something to prove. I see you soon. And some want you to see the sun someday too. Manifest destiny coming, it's in the room. And bob your head, y'all. Bob your head, y'all. It's in the room. Manifest destiny coming, it's coming soon. This might be our last days. It's in the room. This might be our last days, but it ain't coming soon. It's never coming soon, y'all. This is not our last days, for real. And that's, but listen, man, y'all don't even gotta clap, man. Hold on, man. Hold on, y'all. Y'all ain't even gotta clap for me, man. Clap for yourselves, man. Clap for everything y'all have accomplished. Clap for all those times in class where y'all were even learning how to be be a doctor. Clap for yourselves, man. Clap for what you've achieved as Black people in this world. Clap for yourselves, man. There's a lot of people ain't here that ain't here to see this right now, man. Our ancestors, but they here with us, seeing us do this, seeing us prevail, seeing us persevere, seeing us win, seeing us fight, and never seeing us really lose like that. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'll be back. I ain't going nowhere.
Brandon Marsalis, everyone. That was so great. Brandon, before you go, can we get you back real quick? Brandon,
I'm back.
That was absolutely amazing.
I appreciate y'all, man, always.
We're here today to talk about the COVID-19 vaccine, and specifically in the Black community. And so, have you been able to get the vaccine?
Oh, come on now, I got the vaccine. Where my vaccine card at? Hold on, I'm gonna get my vaccine card. I ain't playing no games. Hold on. I ain't playing no games. You getting the card.
Vaccine card. Got a rep.
I got my wallet on me, but I got the card. I promise. I even got the hole right here in my arm somewhere. Listen, I got it. And you know what? I think it's a thing too of for me, it was a matter of necessity. It was a matter of necessity. Like there's a lot of people in my life that are susceptible to that. There's a lot of people who are in my life, the elderly people in my community, the elderly people in my family. I owe that to them. So to me, it was a no-brainer for real. Like I wasn't really like, I guess in the most part, like anything like that, I always have thoughts, always second guess some things. But over time, like I was sitting there like, man, there's some people in my life that need to be protected. You know what I'm saying? There's people, and that's really what it comes down to. Is protection and it being a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying? So listen, I got a chicken pox shot and I ain't got chicken pox yet. So you know what I'm saying? I got like a measles shot and I ain't got measles. So I think something's working. You know what I'm saying? Something working over here. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And so, you know, as you being an artist, one of the things was with COVID-19, the pandemic was the lockdown. And so, you know, there was no more live music, live anything. So are you excited, you know, for live music to come back and start playing your shows? And did that
man, you know, I'm excited, man. You know, I'm having a good time, man. Come on, man. I love this right here, man. I live for this right here, man. For real, man. Like when you know, COVID, how unfortunate COVID was, and a lot of people passing away needlessly. Let me just highlight that with needlessly. It gave people who were alive a chance to step back, a chance to step out of that reality that was just kind of a game. You know, it gave us a second to look inward. It gave us a second to process. We don't get that a lot as human beings. You know, like we don't get a time away from the job. We don't get a time away from punching in a time clock. We don't even get time away from time. You know what I'm saying? So like just having that year, months of unfortunate sorrow, but having it be a kind of blessing in disguise, to be honest, like a way to look in yourself, a way to understand yourself, and weighing your life against what's really going on. And a lot of people in my personal life betted on themselves, chose themselves for life, you know, chose the way they felt, and said, hey, I'm gonna pursue my passion. I'm gonna pursue art. I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z because now I got time to. So I think, long story short, I'm happy to be back. Real happy to be back.
Well, thank you so much, Brandon. Your music is appreciated, and we are gonna have Brandon come back at the end of the show to wrap us up. So stay tuned because he got some more fire music for you all. So I just want to go over the community guidelines because we do have some new people coming in. So by being here, you are agreeing to be kind to our speakers, musical guests, and each other. Please mute your mic. Put any comments or questions in the chat. And so we are going to do a Q&A at the end of this. So if you have any questions, you know, when it comes to your vaccine hesitations or anything like that, please go ahead and put those in the chat, and we are going to address those at the end of the show. And then also use your reactions at the bottom of the screen to send lots of love. And the best way to look at this is in your speaker view. So again, if you click the top right, there's a button that says view, and you go ahead and click on speaker. That's going to be the best view for you tonight. So, you know, we are here to talk about the COVID-19 vaccine. And one thing that I would like to share is where you can find places to get your vaccine at. So I'm going to share my screen with everyone right now. And so there is an amazing website called Vaccine Washington. And if you go to this website, you can find anywhere in Washington to get a vaccine. And so the COVID-19 vaccines are now available to everyone 12 and older. So if you go ahead and pop in your zip code, we can go ahead and do a zip code, just pop that in, press enter, all these amazing places where you can get the vaccine. And it even tells you what kind of vaccine, if it's the Johnson & Johnson, if it's the Moderna, and you can go ahead and schedule an appointment. And so that is the vaccinelocator.doh.washington.gov is where you can find places to go ahead and make your appointment for the vaccine. And then also, if you want to learn more, you know, about the COVID-19 and the vaccine, you can go to DOH, which is the Department of Health.washington.gov. And I just wanted to share a little thing with you, which is, what is the COVID-19 vaccine? So, you know, we had to go on this lockdown and have this pandemic. And I know some people might not even know what the COVID-19 vaccine is. So I just wanted to share this. So the COVID-19 is a respiratory illness caused by a new or novel coronavirus that was not identified in humans before December 2019. Coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that usually cause mild respiratory illnesses, such as the common cold. Some coronaviruses have caused more severe illnesses, such as severe acute respiratory syndrome, which is SARS, and Middle East respiratory syndrome, which is MERS. Most people will recover on their own, but some people can develop more serious complications, such as pneumonia, and require medical care or hospitalization. Older people and people with chronic illnesses are more likely to get very sick from COVID-19. The novel coronavirus that causes COVID-19 is spreading from person to person, and the number of cases detected in Washington, nationally, and other countries is growing. And you know, now that we have this vaccine out, definitely encouraging people to help stop that spread by going ahead and get that vaccine. And then the risk of COVID-19 is not connected to race, ethnicity, or nationality. Share accurate information with others to keep rumors of misinformation from spreading. And so we are going to go ahead and get into our discussion today. We have some amazing speakers. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And so the first speaker for tonight is Dr. Ann Jarris. Dr. Ann, so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. And I gotta say, I love your energy, and you've done a great job of putting this all together. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ann. So Dr. Ann, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the amazing work that you do, especially when it comes to COVID-19?
Yeah, it has been a long year. So I've got some pictures to share because the pictures of the industry I work in are really cool. So at least we can look at pretty pictures. But I started this company with my late husband, Dr. Ray Jarris, who was an ER doc that Dr. Lewis knew very well. So we all kind of go way back here in the Seattle area. But our company provides medical support to ships at sea. So, you know, when people are fishing up in the Bering Sea and somebody injures themselves, they call us and we work with them, and it's really dangerous work. It's far out in the middle of nowhere. And so when COVID became a problem, we all kind of jumped on this early. Every year we send tens of thousands of fishermen up to rural Alaska, and there's no medical care up there. So it was important that we try to keep COVID off these boats and try to protect people. So these are the boats we work with. These are the big fishing trawlers that you'll see at the port of Tacoma. You'll see them up at Pier 91 up in Seattle. But if you look out into the water, you'll see these guys going by. They're usually in town kind of November, December. Most of them are up in Alaska right now. But these boats are monstrous. So when you look at them, I'm going to give you a little anatomy lesson of a boat. This is a combination of a large boat. It's a combination of really dense congregate housing where people live together in bunks. And it's also a fish processing factory. So up here, you know, you have the wheelhouse, you have living quarters below that, and then the whole bottom of the ship underneath is a factory. So it's people working shoulder to shoulder. It's machinery that's moving, you know, at a high rate. It's loud, it's dangerous. So imagine all the, you know, the meat processing factories that you're aware of, stick it on a boat, and then stick it out at sea. And I can't look at this picture without getting seasick. So now not only that, are you living with 250 people on bunks in really dense areas, processing fish 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, but you're moving, and you're moving in the middle of the Bering Sea. So you're days away from medical help. I mean, I can't think of a more high risk area to get COVID on. So this gives you an idea of what happens on the boats. After they get up to the Bering Sea, they drop nets, they catch a bunch of fish, they pull them up onto the boat. Then they dump the fish out. Again, it's really dangerous work. There are hooks that are swinging. The fish are very slippery. There's a lot of ways to get hurt out here. And then it goes down below decks into the factories. And like you can see, people are working shoulder to shoulder. There's no social distancing on a boat. It's really impossible. Once one person gets sick, it's impossible to stop it. And this is an example of what the bunks look like. So you might have a room where there's 12 people in a bunk room, but you can't mask, you can't sleep in a mask. So again, you just can't separate people. You can't isolate them at all. So it's really dense living. It's working shoulder to shoulder. And it takes people from all walks of life who work in the fishing industry, and a lot of them have chronic diseases. So we were very worried about this population being at high risk for COVID and not having access to medical care. So it was really important for us to keep it off the ships. We did a lot of testing. We put people in hotels for 2 weeks before they went up on quarantine. And for the most part, we were doing really well. In May of 2020, we sent a bunch of boats out, and unfortunately, we didn't do perfectly. So few of the boats had outbreaks, and these were the boats that had 150 people on them, and all of a sudden people were getting sick. So these boats came into port. They ended up having to go up to anchorage. And I'm sorry, I'm going to back up here. This is how you get medical care on these boats. So if you get sick, they oftentimes have to call the Coast Guard in, bring a helicopter in, lower down a basket, put you on that, and take you back up. So obviously there are going to be times where they can't fly because of weather. And if you get sick, you may be stuck on the boat for days, and there's not a lot of medical care on board. So this boat ended up having to go, had to sail for a few days to get to Seward, and then put people on buses and took them up to Anchorage to go into isolation and quarantine. And when I think about, this was in June 2020. So when I kind of think back to the pandemic, this is actually the picture that haunts me most. I mean, can you imagine June of 2020 when we knew nothing about this disease? You're on a boat with 150 of your closest friends. People are sick. You don't know what's going on. Half the boat's sick, half the boat's not. You don't know if you're going to get it. You're suddenly, not allowed to go into other ports. You're put on this bus. You're taken up to hotels. You don't know if you're going to get sick. You don't know if you're going to see your family. I mean, it must have been terrifying. This must have been just, in my mind, it was unacceptable. It was one of the worst parts of the pandemic. So we were committed to do everything we could to make sure this didn't happen. And for the rest of the 2020, we actually did really well. There were very few outbreaks on boats and processing plants. The season ended in November. Everybody came home. We all kind of took a break. But then January came along. So January of 2021 was a bad month in the fishing industry. As you all know, vaccines came available in December, but only for healthcare workers. We couldn't get them for critical infrastructure workers. We were fighting for the fishing industry. I mean, I talked to the White House. I got up to the White House trying to advocate to get vaccines for the seafood processing industry. And it just took a lot. So this is the Port of Dutch Harbor in the Aleutian Islands. This is the largest, I think by dollar value, it's the largest seafood port in the US by dollar value. Again, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. And this is one of the giant seafood processing plants. So there'll be 1,000 workers here living in bunks, working in these plants, and very little medical care. And January saw multiple outbreaks. We had plants of 700 people where 500 of them were positive. Trying to get people out was very difficult because the weather, you can't medevac them out. And this actually was probably the worst time in the whole pandemic because we had vaccines, we were just getting them and we were just starting to get them. And we knew if we could just get everyone vaccinated, we could prevent these outbreaks from happening. So we work closely with the Washington Department of Health, the Alaska Department of Health, and we actually sent a nurse up to the Port of Dutch Harbor. And so her job was to vaccinate the seafood industry. We got vaccines everywhere we could. We worked with the local tribal clinic. We worked with the local clinic. We worked with Safeway and the federal allocation. Washington Department of Health actually sent us some vaccines. So everywhere we could get them, we got them. And this is our nurse, Andy, on a people mover. So they would put you on the dock and then crane you up onto the boat. And she would just do this all day long, 7 days a week for months, trying to get everyone vaccinated. By April, we really had done a great job. We had the boats almost 100% vaccinated, and we had the plants about 80 to 90% vaccinated. May was the big test for us. In May, we sent the boats back out on the coast of Washington and Oregon for the first major fishing season. And then in June, the salmon season started up in Alaska, so now we're in full swing. And we, knock on wood, have not had a case on board yet. And, you know, it's, in my mind, it's really just a miracle. This has been absolutely miraculous to go from just this devastating experience of having the virus tear through our boats and our processing plants to nothing. I mean, just nothing. You know, the vaccines are so effective and so protective that it's just gone. The disease is gone in these places. So we're very happy with that. We kept working with the Washington Department of Health. We were running vaccine clinics at Cheney Stadium and now at Puyallup. We've been doing mobile teams to go out and vaccinate in King and Pierce County. But what's been most fun lately is we started getting involved with the foreign vessels that come in. So again, if you walk out to the Port of Tacoma or Port of Seattle and look around, you'll see all the cargo ships. And I'm sure you've read in the paper the problem with you know, all the cargo ships being backed up. So while they've been sitting out there, we've been sending crews out to vaccinate them. And so the crews have to go out because they can't get off the boat because they're not US citizens. We have to send them out. They have to climb these ladders up the side of the boat and then go on board and vaccinate them. And it's been a blast because these crews, you know, they come from all over the world. You know, the fishermen come from every country of the world, and most of their countries, they can't get vaccines now. So it's, for us, this has been, again, one of the highlights of the past year has been able to provide vaccines to communities that normally don't have access to them. So that's our story, and I hope it's helpful for you, and happy to answer any questions or talk further.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ann. So I do have a question for you. Was there any hesitation, you know, from the workers and the people on board the ship about getting the vaccine, and kind of what was the education or the things that you did and provided to help ease that?
Yeah, there definitely was concern. And I mean, it's reasonable. When these vaccines first came out, you know, people didn't know much about them. They were concerned that they've gone through the process very fast. We've never really had an mRNA vaccine in humans before. And I kept telling everybody, I was like, you know, you guys, healthcare is going to bear the brunt of this. So we'll get it for you when you can, but there's a lot of people going ahead of you. And then when we saw how effective and safe the mRNA vaccines were, people wanted them. They did not want to take this home to their families. They had lived through the last year and seen how horrible it had been. So the majority of people wanted them. Some people didn't. Some people still had concerns. The companies ended up mandating it. You couldn't work on the boats or if you didn't vaccinate because there was no way to keep people safe. And I think that some people just decided no, but the vast majority of people were fine with it. On the international vessels, there's been no concerns. People have been very, very anxious to get vaccinated and really happy to have it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ann. Really appreciate that. So next we have Dr. Bell. Dr. Bell, thank you so much for joining us today. So Dr. Bell, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the people a little about what you do and all the wonderful, amazing things that you provide for our communities?
Sure, thanks for having me. So like was mentioned, my name is Shaquita Bell. I'm a pediatrician with the Odessa Brown Children's Clinic, Seattle Children's, University of Washington, and Harborview. Sometimes I have to double check which place I need to go to on any given day. I've been a pediatrician here in Seattle for almost 15 years. It'll be 15 years, I think, next month, and have loved living here, moved here from Minnesota. I grew up in Minnesota with my family and then moved out here for my training as a physician, and just feel really blessed to be at a community health center that serves the community that I come from. So my father's Black and my mom is Native, she's Cherokee. So I identify as both Afro-American and Indigenous, and really wanted to work in a place that reflected my family and my community, and was so lucky and consider myself so lucky to continue to work at Odessa Brown, which is a community health center that was started by the Black community in the Central District at a time where healthcare was not an option for many folks in our community, and was driven by leadership and strong women like Odessa Brown, and has continued to be there now for over 50 years. So one of the things that we realized pretty early in the pandemic was that we couldn't close our doors. So many of you may have experienced that. A lot of clinics had to close. They couldn't continue to see patients. They couldn't figure out a safe way to do so, to keep their staff safe and to keep patients safe. But we really felt like, as a safety net clinic, that we could not close our doors. So our leadership at the time was really adamant that we stay open. And so we got creative. We said, okay, let's see babies in the morning, keep them healthy, do a deep clean, and then see people who are sick and do COVID testing for anybody who wants it in the afternoon. And that ended up working well. And then, you know, fast forward to last fall, and the vaccine became available, and we said, hey, this is another opportunity where we can serve our community and we can start vaccinating. But, you know, it's not something we'd ever done. We ended up vaccinating people in their 80s and 90s. And as a pediatrician, you know, I usually stop seeing you after 18 or 19. So that was a really interesting experience for me. I'm so thankful to the many community groups we partnered with, like the African American Health Board, Somali Health Board, Living Well Kent, Centro de la Raza. All of these folks helped us partner and meet people where they're at. So we've had a clinic at Odessa Brown every Saturday since February 27th, giving vaccines. And we've now started having mobile clinics. So we've gone to schools, we've gone to churches. Most recently went to a couple of community centers, and we're going to continue that through the summer. One of the things we've noticed as we started was that a lot of people wanted to get vaccines with providers and with community who looked like them and reflected them. So I'm proud to say that we've given over 2,000 vaccines. 80% of the people who received vaccines were Black, Indigenous, or other people of color, and 40% identified as Black. Very exciting. That's exactly the community we wanted to serve. And it's nice to know that we have done so and that we'll continue to do so. And the other thing that we learned is a lot of adult sites aren't super comfortable giving it to children. So we're going to continue to serve in order to be open for all kids, not just patients who see us in our medical clinic or dental clinic or mental health, but anybody, regardless of their ability to pay, could be vaccinated at our clinic. And we'll continue to do that until people don't need vaccines anymore. One thing I will mention to everybody on the call is that we are expecting the EUA to come through for children under 12 any day now. My guess is probably the end of August, but if COVID has taught me anything, it's not to guess. So whenever we can vaccinate children under 12, we are going to be doing so. And we're happy to partner with anyone who wants to do an outreach event or who wants us to come to their community. We'd love to vaccinate as many people as possible.
So Dr. Bell, what has the conversations been like with the parents of children who are concerned about the vaccine and hesitant?
That's a great question. Well, first, one of the things I forgot to add is that I am a vaccine trial participant. I volunteered to be in a vaccine trial because I wanted to have Black and Indigenous representation in the trial so that we knew how the vaccines worked in our community. And so I oftentimes am able to have a very in-depth conversation with folks about the science, because I learned a lot from being in that early vaccine cohort or the early vaccine group. When you sign up for a vaccine trial, you get like 64 pages worth of information about every possible thing that could happen and every ingredient. And so I was really lucky to be able to have very in-depth conversations. I would say, much like most people have experienced, there are some people who want the vaccine, no questions asked. There's some people who have a lot of questions. There's some people who want to wait a little while. And I just try to meet people where they're at and be open to having conversations. I think we all recognize that vaccine hesitancy is appropriate response to the trauma we've experienced in our communities at the hands of medicine. And so I like to focus on a term called vaccine acceptance. So you don't have to you can still be hesitant and you can still not trust the things that our government and our institution of medicine have done to our communities, and yet still want to be vaccinated against COVID-19. Those two things can live together in an individual. So for the most part, people are vaccinated. I mean, we're seeing that in Washington. People are being vaccinated. Our vaccine acceptance rates are really high compared to other places in the country. And I like to shift our narrative around Indigenous, Black, and communities of color to say, if you give us the opportunity, we will participate. We want to be a part of this. It's having places like Odessa Brown where I can come and talk to somebody who looks like me, who comes from my community, who speaks the same language. We've provided a lot of dual language visits as well. I think that's really the root of most of the questions is how can I get enough information to feel comfortable getting these vaccines?
I just want to say thank you so much for, being a participant in the trial. And I would like to ask, kind of what was that experience like and what was everything that went into that?
Yeah, it was intense. I think most people in medicine, all of healthcare workers, when the pandemic started, I think we were all, there were two groups of us. Some of us who were like, this is what I was called to medicine to do, and I'm going to work every day to save our community. And some people were like, whoa, I didn't sign up for this. I think I need a job change. And that, that was very clarifying. But for me, it was like, this is the whole reason why I became a doctor, was to help my community. And so I actually signed up really early, and I didn't get called until September of last fall. And so they called me and they said, hey, are you still interested? And I said, yeah, I guess so. Can you send me some information? So they sent me, like I said, they sent me a 64-page handout on everything, like every ingredient, every potential side effect, every sniffle, cough, scratch, rash that anybody who's ever gotten the vaccine ever experience. And then I went in and I had a almost 2-hour appointment with them to answer questions, to talk through it all. And then what they do is they test you for COVID, they test your antibodies for COVID, and then they give you either a placebo or a vaccine, and then they continue to measure your ability to fight COVID. And so I'll be in this trial for 2 years, and that'll kind of give us an idea over time of whether you need booster shots, which vaccines have which efficacy. So that idea of how effective they are, that percentage you hear are people throwing out, the 90, 95%, that's how we figure that out, by measuring people's antibodies over time, or their ability to fight the infection. That's another term for antibodies. So I go in regularly to get blood draws. That's probably my least favorite part of it. Anybody who says if you're scared of medicine, you can't be, or scared of blood, you can't be a doctor, it's not true. I am a good example. I don't like blood at all, but it's worth it. I just look the other way, and I get a lot of things up my nose, and that's okay. But yeah, it was really intense. The thing I'm facing now is that the vaccine's being required in a lot of places, and because I'm a trial participant, I don't have that cool card that all of you who have had the vaccine have. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get my my selfie going so I can get some cred on social media for getting my shots.
So Dr. Bell, can you talk a little bit more about the science behind the vaccine, and maybe just provide any information you think would be helpful for someone to know who's on the fence about getting the vaccine, and they hear like, okay, this I understand now.
Yeah, so there are two great resources, and I know that so the CDC is a good resource in that they have all of the information, they update it regularly. I have personally tried to navigate that site, so I know it's very challenging. Like, I'll get a question, okay, I had COVID 3 months ago, or no, 63 days ago, can I still get my vaccine? And that sort of answer is really hard to find on the website, but the actual science of the vaccine is pretty available there. And then you can actually go to each of those companies. So I don't get any profits from any of them, but you could go to Pfizer, you can go to AstraZeneca, you can go to Moderna, you can go to Johnson & Johnson and actually read about their particular science if that's helpful. So there's two types of vaccines on the market. The ones we've heard about the most, Moderna and Pfizer, are called an mRNA vaccine. And so this technology was developed about 20 years ago and has really been around, but not had the opportunity to be used as effectively or as on large of a scale as we're using it now. So when I hear people who are worried about this vaccine being new, the sort of the building blocks of the vaccine are not new by any means. They're decades old. It's just the actual COVID or coronavirus that's new. So they take a part of that virus, which we call a protein. And it's basically just, if you think about a flag or a sign like I have in my background here that says, hey, this is how you can identify somebody who's LGBTQ2+ or coronavirus. So that protein is that flag, and then the vaccine recognizes that flag and creates the ability for your body to fight and prevent infection inside your body, and that's in your immune system. So it doesn't affect your DNA. It doesn't go into the actual cells that makes you, but it goes into your immune system to fight off and prevent infection from coronavirus. So that's the mRNA technology. And right now it's looking like that is probably the highest effect in terms of being effective. That's in that 90 to 95% after 2 vaccines. And as far as we know right now, that ability is lasting too. There's been this question about whether we need a booster shot or not. And currently, we've only had the vaccine for a little under a year in terms of even the vaccine trials. It looks like the ability to fight that infection is continuing. The other type of vaccine, the J&J and the AstraZeneca, are a viral vector. So basically they take a virus that our bodies know well. It's something called adenovirus. That's a kind of a common cold. It's something that all of us have been exposed to. Pretty much everyone's been exposed to at some point in their life, certainly most adults. And they take a version of that virus, make it not able to infect us, but give us the ability to create those same antibodies to fight COVID or coronavirus. So kind of again, like that protein or that flag, this virus is changed just enough for our body to be able to create those flags or create those antibodies to those flags. So those are the 2 types of vaccines. Again, the way we judge how well a vaccine works is by how long you're going to be protected and how much of the population is protected by it as well. And so a lot of people have been talking about this idea of herd immunity. That's another really common term that you're hearing out there. The term herd immunity is kind of comparable to like oil and water. Like at what point, if you mix the two, do you have a glass of water or do you have a glass of oil? So if you think about vaccines, you don't have to have every single person vaccinated in order to prevent coronavirus from spreading. If we get the right number, the right percentage of people vaccinated, then it's very hard for coronavirus to spread. It doesn't mean it can't, but it won't be on a pandemic or endemic level. So it's not impacting us as a population. So it's kind of the idea in indigenous communities, we have this a lot, like we do something to ourselves that is going to protect the group. So I protect the land, or I'm responsible with the water, not just because it benefits me, but more importantly, it benefits my community, my elders, my next generation. And that's sort of the same idea of herd immunity. If enough of us get vaccinated, then people who can't get the vaccine because they're allergic or they have organ transplants, so people who've had their organs transplanted are sometimes on medications that prevent them from getting vaccines, those folks can't get vaccinated, and we have to get the vaccine in order to prevent that so that we can get that number high enough. Hopefully I did a good job of explaining that. It's all really complex science that I went to school for years and try to avoid using big words.
That was absolutely great. I learned so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Bell. I had no clue about any of that. And again, just thank you for the work that you do, for being a part of the trial and being, being a change maker out here. Thank you so much, Dr. Bell. You are appreciated. So last but not least, we have Dr. Rayburn Lewis. Dr. Lewis, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. And Dr. Bell and Dr. Jarris, thank you so much for the good work that you are currently doing and that you have done. And as I said right at the beginning, before everyone got on, they're working doctors. I'm very much retired. So you have to take whatever I say with a big grain of salt, right? I am a retired physician. I'm an internist by training, went to the University of Washington, and I had a practice in the central area of Seattle and up on, quote, Pill Hill for 25 years. And then I became a hospital administrator. The last 10 years of my career, I ran 3 Swedish hospitals, one in Ballard, where I met Dr. Jarris's husband, Ray, who helped found the company that she runs now. I was the chief operating officer at Swedish Cherry Hill, and then I retired from Swedish 4.5 years ago as the chief executive at Swedish Issaquah. I didn't last long in retirement, and about 6 months later, I went back to working half-time at the International Community Health Services, which is a community health center, a federally qualified center in the International District, Chinatown. And I'll talk a little bit about the role of community health centers for our population. It is an invaluable resource for being able to get people vaccinated and also taking care of patients who get sick. I wanted to give a shout out to Brother Marsalis. That was a great thank you introduction, especially when you said protecting those around you. And that came up again, both with Dr. Jarris and with Dr. Bell, that in many ways, especially for young people, getting vaccinated, although the young folks do get sick, especially with this new variant, the most important thing about young people getting vaccinated is that they're around people like me. I'm old. I know I don't look old, but I am technically a senior. And I think I'm probably the oldest person on this call at this point. I've been vaccinated for about 6 months, about 5 months. But the key here is that community. We've all looked out after our elders, right? We've all looked out after those around us who have special illnesses that only affect, or for the significant amount, only affect Black people. For example, folks with lupus that have a much higher chance of occurring in Blacks, sickle cell anemia and sickle cell trait. All of those things, anyone who has an immune deficiency, they're inability to fight infection. So by all of us getting vaccinated, we protect those who cannot protect themselves. So if we don't do it for us, we do it for the community. And that's an important thing to know. The second thing I'd like to say, so thank you, Brother Marsalis, for bringing that up. Okay, I wanted to give you some props, bro. The next thing is that I want to talk about is how those, and I like your term, Dr. Bell, vaccination acceptance, and how do you move from question mark to acceptance? Well, let's look at some evidence. Approximately 35% of Black self-identified Blacks in this country have received vaccinations. Approximately 35% of Black folks. Now, that's less than whites and less than Asians, but it's a substantial amount. So how many people is that? Well, there are about 45 million of us in this country. That means about 15 million Black people have gotten vaccinations. And I will tell you that quickly looking at the data, it works in those Black people. And the number of complications is no higher than it is in any other population, with the one exception being that early on, there were issues with some rare complications in children that Dr. Bell probably knows better and can probably speak to. But it appears that the issues with that appear to be ironed out and is not so much of an issue so much. So think about it. Enough Black people have been vaccinated for 100 Tacomas. That's a lot of experience. 100, take Tacoma and multiply it by 100. That's how many Black people have had the vaccination. We aren't dying off, right? Those who've been vaccinated, they are as resistant to COVID as anyone else who has been vaccinated. So I want you to keep that in your hip pocket. It is no longer just an experiment that's being done on folks. It is now proven, and we've got somewhere around 13 million people to prove it. So that's just a piece I think that is important to know. Another thing I think that is, and I'm not going to talk so much about the science, so much as what has been my experience and the experience of some of the older physicians in the community about what works. You know, having a TV show with popular figures getting the shot and talking about it, it doesn't work nearly as well as someone going to their physician or their nurse practitioner or their PA, someone they've been going to for years, right? That they trust and they know, and that person sitting down with them one-on-one and saying in the language that they know, in a language and also not just a language, a verbal language, but a language where they're knowledgeable of the culture, knowledgeable of the patterns in the community, and being able to say, yeah, I know, I get it, man. I understand. I know you know that your sisters, brothers, girlfriends, father had a problem, but you know what? Let me tell you, I've gotten the vaccine. I have all of my patients get the vaccine. It is better for you to get it. And if you need some time, come on back. I know Dr. Bell is shaking her head up and down because that's what happens at Odessa Brown. I know that because I've been in there watching them give those shots, right? So finally, I'd like to say, and I'm not going to say finally because there's a whole lot more I can say, but I think I've said the most important part is people listen to people they know and they trust, especially in the medical professions. The building behind me is a building formerly called Seattle Vocational Institute. Way back was Seattle SOIC, and it was a building that for years has been with Seattle colleges. It is now belongs to something called the Central District Community Preservation Development Authority, which is a not-for-profit group that I'm the president of. We now own that building, and we're going to rebuild that building and put it back into circulation in the community for education, innovation, and job creation. One of the first things we did in the community was that we hosted a clinic that is adjacent to, that is right there with Dr. Bell's clinic, the Carolyn Downs and Country Doctor Clinic. And since April, once a week, Carolyn Downs and Country Doctor have been hosting a vaccination clinic in that building on the first floor of the building. First, it was just outside because the building wasn't ready, safe to be inside. So they did it outside. And now every Wednesday, inside and outside, they have a vaccination clinic. And over somewhere between 12 and 1,500 Black and brown predominantly people in the Central District of Seattle have been vaccinated. And I know that goes on in Tacoma and the rest of King County, but I just want to let you know that it takes all of us pulling on those reins to get us going forward. And I'd like to show you a video of this clinic. And Brother Marsalis, you probably know the person who put this together, Chakundi Salisbury, who's on the board of CDC PDA. So give me a second. I'm going to pull this up. And shall I take myself off mute? Okay, great. Here it comes.
I'm a medical assistant with Country Doctor Community Health Centers, and I am vaccinating the community today. Good. Vaccinating yourself? I'm amazing. All right. Cool. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Hold on to this card for me, sir. Okay. And this here is your fact sheet about the vaccine. Okay. Great. We're good to go? All right. Are you left-handed or right-handed? I am right-handed. So get your left arm, but you want to get to it. Like a tetanus shot, so they can't be on the tender. Okay. So if you want to say, get your vaccine. All right. I wish my mom was here. You know, my mom came with me to get all my shots until I was like 30 years old. At the country doctor. Are we done already? Oh, well, I was talking because I was hoping my mom was here. But you'll do.
Well, I sure hope you were able to hear that. Were you? Yeah.
Yeah.
He just had a blast doing that, and I will tell you that we are very proud to be able to serve, and it's exactly those kinds of settings, as well as the settings in Dr. Bell's clinic, and that help people to break through their fear of getting this vaccination. I'll tell you, I was at the King Day celebration way back in February and January, and it was just starting to get our back, and just talking to people there, identifying myself and not being afraid to talk and not judging was very important. So I will stop there. I've given you some numbers. I've given you kind of my spiel, and happy to answer any questions a little later.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lewis. That was amazing. And yeah, I really appreciate that video. It shows how simple and easy it is to get your vaccine, and, you know, the amazing environments that are being created, you know, so people feel comfortable. That was absolutely amazing. So before we log off, does anyone have any questions? Please drop them in the chat if you have any questions for any of the doctors. But again, thank you so much, Dr. Jarris, Dr. Bell, Dr. Lewis. You all were absolutely amazing. And I learned so much today, like absolutely learned so much. It was great. And so thank you all for the work that you do. And, you know, you are appreciated, and I'm happy that, you know, the community is out here, you know, supporting what you do. So for a Q&A question, we have a question for Dr. Bell. What is the question? I don't see it.
She already asked me just to make sure I was staying. So the question is if there's anybody who should not get the vaccine, or if there's any conditions that would prevent you from getting the vaccine. So first of all, let me say this this information has changed a lot over the last 6 months, right? We are still learning what are things that could interact. We were still learning what are things that could interact with the vaccine. For a while, there was the instruction to not get another vaccine at the same time as your COVID shot, that it should be separated by 2 weeks. That's no longer the guidance. You can get another vaccine at the same time, or you don't have to worry about 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after. That doesn't matter. Another thing that we have learned over time is that if you've had the infection, the coronavirus infection, it is safe to get the vaccine. One of the things that we had initially, the CDC had initially recommended, was waiting 80 days between getting your infection and getting your vaccine. And the information or the work or research or science behind that change is that it looks like just because you've had the infection doesn't mean that you'll build up those antibodies again, that ability to fight the infection. And so they are recommending you get the vaccine even if you've had coronavirus infection, especially considering the variants, which is just another word to say the virus is becoming slippery and changing little proteins, little flags to try to get around some of the ways we're preventing it. And so that's another reason why we want you to get the vaccine, is because the vaccine covers right now all of those variants. And the more people that get vaccinated, the less successful the variants will be. So the caveat to who can get the vaccines, there's 3 major categories. One is anybody who's allergic to something in the vaccine. And what that is polyethylene glycolate. And I can barely say that. I have yet to meet anybody who's allergic to it, but it is not an uncommon allergy in folks who have undergone chemotherapy. So if you're not sure, please ask your doctor or your provider, your healthcare provider, whether you have that allergy. The second person who should not get the vaccine is a person who has been treated with an antibody treatment for their COVID infection. So I was saying, if you've had the infection, you can still get the vaccine, but if you were treated with antibody regimen for that infection, then you do need to wait 80 days and consult your doctor before getting the vaccine. And then finally, we really want the vaccines to be timed appropriately. So the third caveat for not getting the vaccine is if you've already had one vaccine and it has not been the required amount of time. So for instance, Pfizer, you get a dose and then 21 to 25 days later, you get your second dose. We don't want you to go earlier than that. And we don't want you to go any more than like 42 days after that. It gets real in the weeds really fast. Like I said, there is a lot of information that is actually pretty accessible on the CDC about who should get the vaccine, since there's only a few exceptions to that. I'm also happy to talk about, Dr. Lewis mentioned some of the side effects in kids. I can put in the chat a link to some information about the inflammation of the heart that the CDC is saying may be related to the vaccine. By and large, the folks who have experienced this are young adults under the age of 30 and over adolescent age, so like 16 and older to about 30. And almost all of those people have required with just rest and taking good care of themselves. But there's a recent statement that just came out on Monday, today's Tuesday, yesterday, from the CDC about that. And I just put that in the chat as well. So we are recommending all kids get vaccinated. The risk of myocarditis is in fact a lot higher with the infection of COVID. And we're still not clearly seeing this as a side effect from the vaccine. We're saying it may be related, and yet kids are recovering from this condition. If there are any other questions about side effects or about the vaccine, I'm happy to help too.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bell. Do we have any other questions? Please let us know, drop it in the chat if we have any other questions. Dr. Jarris, is there anything that you'd like to say? Any last words or comments?
Oh, this is great. I almost suggested that Dr. Bell drop her email in the chat so everybody could reach out to her, but I don't want to overwhelm her. This has been fantastic. I really appreciate hearing everybody's experience, and I've actually learned a lot too from this. So thank you for doing it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jarris. Again, thank you, Dr. Bell. Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Thank you all for tuning in today. So we're gonna end it with the amazing musical talents from Brandon Marsalis to end the night. So excited to have him back on again.
Yo, what's up?
Brandon, go ahead and you can take us away.
Man, listen. I'm gonna, I was thinking while y'all were talking, for real, I was really tuned in. I was thinking, first off, thank you, Mr. Lewis, for your kind words. My mama always taught me when my elders teaching me something, I better listen, boy. And I'm doing my best in this world, you know what I'm saying? But see, one thing about doctors, man, they gonna give you the statistics, they gonna break it down, they gonna talk to you. I'm here to just tell you, don't be swallowing bleach, y'all. That don't fix COVID, y'all. Listen, they ain't gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you, because I don't got a problem. It don't work like that, okay? Rubbing Clorox in various, it ain't gonna work, okay? Yeah, you see me. It don't work like that. So that's what they wanted to say, but they don't want to say that because, they shout out to y'all, shout out to the doctors in here, man, because without y'all, man, this world would be a more dangerous place. But like I said, that's not how it works. Okay, the earth is round. First, okay, I'm gonna leave it alone. Because what I'm gonna do for y'all, man, first off, I was gonna do 2 short songs, but I thought about doing one that's from my heart, that's from me, my favorite song, the favorite song that I wrote a little while ago when I was younger, and I saw young Trayvon Martin get slain, when I see a young Mike Brown get slain. And shout out to Beat Lyte. First off, I'm just trying to shout everybody out because we leaving, you know what I'm saying? We getting out of here. Shout out Beat Lyte, man. I'm doing this one without a beat. Shout out to her for being a beautiful poet, because without energy like that, I won't be able to do this for y'all. And I'm starting out like this. I had a dream I was finally free. Dream that my Nubian skin wasn't a sin. Had a dream we would finally meet. That our precious blood wouldn't fuel their war machines. Had a dream I was finally free. Dream that my Nubian skin wasn't a sin. Had a dream we were finally free. That our precious blood wouldn't fuel their war machines. All hell. World turned to all hell. Water stale. Racism sold at wholesale. Hard to stay wholesome when everybody else bailed. When I take my last breath, it's hard to exhale. Let me tell you a story. Hopefully it takes a minute then, of a hoodie, some Skittles, and a goddamn Zimmerman. I know you know it well. All the facts legitimate. I know you know it well. Busting pipes is legitimate. Know you know it well. Free speech is prohibited. Paying rent for all the damn demons I've been living with. Dream I was finally free. Dream that my Nubian skin wasn't a sin. Had a dream we were finally me. That our precious blood wouldn't fuel their war machines. Had a dream we were finally free. Dream that our Nubian skin wasn't a sin. Had a dream we were finally me. That our precious blood wouldn't fuel their war machines. I can't grow in these streets because the plebeians will shoot me in the median just for being me. That's why we being me, shooting in the BNI. Imagine the look in Trayvon's eyes. Only lion took from his pride. Only thing that makes him human inside. Not from a citizen, but from a damn Zimmerman. What the hell am I witnessing? A death of a young boy, innocent. Please, officer, please, get your knee off me. Please, officer, please, no, I can't breathe. Please, officer, please, no, I'm afraid. That what comes to me bears its face, I'm afraid. That I finish this race too late, I'm afraid. That what approaches me is unfazed, I'm afraid. That I break, falling off the top shelf, I'm afraid. That my homies care about the hood more than themselves. How do I find a better way? How do I let them know? How do I tell these boys to fly when the laws are still Jim Crow? Had a dream I was finally free. Dream that my Nubian skin wasn't a sin. Had a dream I was finally me. That our precious blood wouldn't fuel their war machines. Had a dream I was finally me. Dream that our Nubian skin wasn't a sin. Had a dream we were finally free. That our precious blood wouldn't fuel their war machines. I said, who gonna heal the healer? Who gonna shield their eyes from the reeler? Who cuts the pipeline that turns Silver Tooth Kid into Silverback Gorilla? Warfare Corsairs came in and bombed the barren land bought up by all the stockholders. Invested in your downfall since October. Probably got stocks in case hell freeze over. But I got a bright idea. This is the inner. Thought of what I'll be when I finish. this little light of mine get diminished? What if I don't see the signs and get punished? What if God come right down to mean business? Astounding. Sip holy liquid from a colored only fountain. Word gets shifted when you try to sway the outcome. Survive in a life most predicted that you die from. Caught up in the maelstrom. Shout out to y'all, man. Shout out to everything you do. And there's nobody in this world that's thanking you. I'm thanking you. I'm appreciating you. Because without y'all efforts, without y'all learning, without y'all being in tune with yourselves, without y'all being selfish, without y'all being in this world working for other people, we probably wouldn't have other people. Come on, I'm talking now. Yeah, my mom said I would be a pastor one day. I don't know, but we talking. Listen, y'all, for real. Shout out to all of y'all, man. Y'all deserve the praise. Y'all deserve the love. Y'all deserve the support. Y'all deserve the hugs, the kisses, the love, man. Shout out to y'all, man. All my heart goes out to y'all. And no, you can't drink bleach to fix it, all right? It's not going to work like that, okay? I can't see y'all laughing, but I know you're laughing. It's not going to work that way, all right?
Thank you so much, Brandon. That was amazing. Again, like Brandon said, just thank you all. Thank you for coming. This is number 1. We got 4 more to go. So again, we'll be here every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Thank you all. Be safe, be blessed. Continue the work that you're doing. Love and light to each and every one of you. And I'm going to end it with this. Some fear the fire, others embrace it. I became it. I am the fire. I am the truth. I am the passion. I am the proof that when you internalize your inner flame, you'll be unafraid, unashamed, and become great. Focus on your dreams instead of your fears. Channel your inner light, and the darkness will disappear. Thank you all for being a light in this world. Let's continue that. I see so much greatness in this room. Thank you all. Have an amazing evening.
Y'all be good. Peace.